hospitality industry here in Sri Lanka can do those changes, then the others will follow, because the others will see the benefit. I was very happy to hear Mr. Gunaratna's presentation before our session started, and he was talking about the environmental management accounting purposes, and he had done some studies on hospitality industry as well. So the most important thing to convince the people who are coming into the industry, or those who are kind of who are on borderline whether to move into this area or not, is to show them the figures. Once people see the figures and see that there is an economic benefit also, if you only tell them, hey, it's nice because you have solar energy or biomass or whatever it is, it's not going to convince a lot of people. And solar energy, by the way, is quite expensive. I mean, we are looking at having entirely solar energy in our new property that we are building in Yala. It's finance guys are saying no way, right? Because you're basically buying your energy upfront. What you'll pay for it in 25 years, you're paying for it upfront. Now, Ravi is seated next to me. If Ravi gives me the money, I will put it. But if our company has to put the money, then you are looking at a huge cost upfront for the project. So, but if you are really committed and you make the decision from the heart and not necessarily a lot from the head, there is a possibility that hotels, the newer hotels that are coming up, can be carbon neutral. Otherwise, making it carbon neutral will be only a nice story to talk about, but it won't be easy. So I will shut up now, Prema, because there are two more to speak, and hopefully there are questions as well. I'll be very happy to take questions from you after this.
Thank you, Garan. Thanks a lot. We will now go on to mobile business. Mr. Hans Vijaysurya is with us. As you know, he leads the biggest mobile network, and as I think, Hans, you have what, 7 to 8 million or even more customers? He won't say it. But so he reaches a large number of people. Hans has been a real driver. He's in the forefront of the corporate world. He's done very well for as a company, and having challenges at times. He survived very well, and is managing the organization at the highest level. Hans, you reach millions of people, and in my question to you, I think you have dodged that question, and probably it was not all that relevant as against what you are doing. So I'll concentrate on the note that you sent me, and probably you can elaborate on that. You talk of 4 A's in your organization, about availability, affordability, applicability, and affinity. I would like to speak a little bit on that, and also you have touched on the tracking and managing your environmental performance, and there also you have outlined some initiatives. Hans, if you could probably elaborate on this area, it may be very useful.
Okay, thank you very much, Prema. First of all, thanks Professor Vatuvela and CMA for inviting me. It's an honor and privilege to be here. First, no secret on our customer base. Today, a little over 7.5 million, and spread across all parts of the country. So going to the 4 A's, basically 4 A's is an acronym. It's useful to use one of these buzzwords or phrase to drive an organization. So within the 4 A's, what Dialogue seeks to do, and every employee and other stakeholder, our partners, shareholders are aligned to this objective, is to maximize the availability, accessibility, applicability, and affinity of our product to the citizens of the country. In one word, I would call this inclusion, meaning that what we set out to do is to include every single citizen of this country in the dialogue story. Two words there which may not be immediately clear outside the organization. One is applicability. I think availability and affordability is pretty clear, but applicability is about utility. It's making your product or service useful to as many people as possible. So while in an exclusive business formulation, you would not bother too much about every single segment in society. You would look at a few segments and make your product useful to them. In an inclusive formulation, you look at making it applicable and useful to everyone across the country. The fourth one of affinity. This is about cultural empathy. It's about making every single citizen very comfortable with your product and service so that they can relate to it. It's nothing alien, and they would use it in a manner which is useful to them in their society and ecosystem. Now, how does all this apply to sustainability? The 4 A's, and in particular being inclusive, I believe, is a fundamental of a sustainable business in an emerging economy. I do not think a business which adopts an exclusive approach is sustainable, not in the developing world. In the developed world, I'm not sure. I have not dwelled on that too much. I haven't studied that. But in the developing world, I believe a business which does not address the entire population, the needs of that population, and look to develop that population through its products and services will not be sustainable. After all, sustainability, as you all know, the triple bottom line is about economic development, social development, and environmental development. Economic development is about the economy of the country and the economy of your business. The economy of the country, first. The economy of the country is largely, in an emerging economy, I believe largely or to a very large extent driven by consumer surplus, end user surplus. So all of us who are in the business of delivering products and services to the citizens need to bear in mind how much value the citizen will create from the product that you give them towards the national economy. And that is called consumer surplus or end user surplus. Just to give you a simple example, if you were to empower a trishaw driver or the fishmonger with a mobile phone, how much more efficient is that tradesman? Is it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times? How much does that tradesman save on energy? How many kilometers of idle running would a trishaw driver save due to having a mobile phone? I'm just giving you a few examples. The fishing boats today, they go out to sea and they would trade from the ocean using a mobile phone. They call the markets, they agree the price, and they come in exactly to the right market. And these are examples of an empowering technology delivering consumer surplus or end user surplus. In fact, McKinsey did a research where they studied the Indian, Chinese, and Philippines markets, and they assessed this factor. And what they came up with was that the contribution to the national economies from an inclusive business, it need not be telecommunications, it could be any technology, any product and service which empowers people on an inclusive basis. What factor of end user surplus is created? And here the research came up with the factor of 4 times. So that if the company or the industry puts $1 towards developing an inclusive form of empowerment, then that the consumer, him or herself, will deliver 4 times that towards the national economy. Now, that is something very powerful in our hands as a communication provider, and we need to use it responsibly. And to this extent, we have taken this privilege we have of reaching 7.5 million people with great caution and with great care and a lot of excitement. And we call it digital empowerment, where we have been able to deliver a very advanced computing device to every citizen of this country. Not only Dialog, all the other mobile players in this country have that privilege. Now, when the average citizen has this device in their hands, and it's available, it's affordable, there's close affinity, cultural affinity to this device. The poorest segments of our society are very comfortable with a phone. They can browse on it, they do small transactions on it, and so on. And also, it's very useful to them. Maybe more useful than it is to some of us, because they could save many kilometers of travel, many thousand rupees of transport costs, many hours of wasting time away from their trade, of farming, or fishing, or doing something which would earn them their livelihood. So if this device is put to good use, and we use digitally empowered citizens to deliver inclusion to services which are beyond the realm of a telecom operator. So they could be financial services, it could be insurance, it could be education, it could be any form of commerce, it could be media. Then I believe that the economic development within the triple bottom line that a telco who is inclusive in thinking can deliver is phenomenal, because it can transform lives. And I believe that 5 years from today, you will have a country where our citizens, top to the bottom of the pyramid, will do a large number of their day-to-day activities on their mobile phone. In Kenya, for example, mobile money, a service that we launched a few weeks ago with support of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In Kenya, 13.5% of the Kenyan economy moves through mobile phones. The service was inaugurated, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, and today nearly every transaction in the country, or a large amount of transactions, move through this system, 13.5% of an economy. Now, what's unique is not that 13.5%. What is unique is that 13.5% is spread across the entire population. It's not that a few are enjoying that 13.5%. The whole population is empowered with electronic commerce. So this is sustainable. This is about economic development, it's about social development, and fortunately, our industry is one which is not very pollutive. So I don't have the challenges which some other industries naturally have and have to fight internally to sort out. In our industry, we are fortunate that, in fact, a lot of the things we do, building information societies, replacing brick and mortar with information, replacing transportation with bits and bytes flying around in the air. So you don't need to waste petrol or consume non-renewable energy, because you could carry it out on a phone screen or on a computer screen. So in fact, our industry is lucky that we do not have many pollutants. Towers are probably the only form of environmental hazard, or I wouldn't call it a hazard, something that is not very nice to see all over the place. So in that respect, there's a lot the industry can do. And at Dialog, just to sum up our initiatives, like I said, we've looked at digital empowerment. We deliver a large number of services, including delivering market prices from Dambulla and all the other markets to farmers, similarly for fishermen, transportation, medical appointments, etc., etc. There's a huge range of empowerment that we deliver. But sustainability at Dialog started not after we became a big public listed corporate. We started life in 1995, many of you would remember, as the fourth entrant. And we set up our corporate accountability division and our corporate accountability focus in 1998, when we were still number 3 in this industry. We set up the Change Trust Fund at the time. And from there, we looked at all the peripheral impacts that our industry had. And we started by supporting hearing and speech impairment, because we felt that in our inclusion drive, one segment of society we really couldn't include were those who could not hear and could not speak. And we started with that. And today, fortunately, technology has overtaken, and today people look at their phone more than speak into it. So even speech and hearing impairment is no longer an issue. But at that time, in 1998, it was an issue. So on and so forth, we built an ethos of what we call business integral corporate responsibility within the organization. What does this mean? It's not philanthropy. And in fact, we moved away from philanthropy way back in 2004. And we do a little, but not very much. But what we do is that any business proposal, any corporate plan which is put up must prove to the senior management and to the board that it delivers positive dividends to the economy, meaning the company's economy and the larger economy, to society, meaning the external society and our employees and our shareholders, and also does not harm the environment. So when every business proposition moves through this cycle, it is integral to our business. Means it's not a check we write, it's not something we write off and forget about. We live that year on year. And I believe it is this which has led to Dialogue today. For the third successive year, has been rated #1 in the corporate accountability ranking in Sri Lanka. We never apply for awards for corporate social responsibility, and we have a policy that we will not spend any more than 5% of project costs on promotion of the project. So that 95% of any money which we put towards a project goes to the project itself and not to advertise its outcomes or what it has delivered. So in this way, we built this ethos within the company. It spans business, it spans customers, and what we do with our technology. I believe it has helped us to get where we are today. And in particular, during the very difficult years of 2009, 10, 8 and 9 in particular, it was very heartening to see that everything that we had put in place in terms of sustainability saw the company through, moving from a very, very radical and painful downturn in the year 2009 to come back in 7 quarters, less than 2 years, to once again make 5 billion profit in 2010. Which was largely attributable to our sustainability focus. So that is an internal benefit we got, but I believe likewise society and environment will benefit as well. So with that, I think I've covered the key points, Prema, that you mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. That was really enlightening. The aspect of livelihood and enhancement in Sri Lanka. It's a fine way that you have reached the communities and helping them to enrich their lives. Our last panelist is a big man in a big bank, Mr. Ravi Dias, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of the Commercial Bank. He's just taken over the reins. Mr. Dias holds a degree in LLB, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, and he's also a Hubert H. Humphrey Fellow. From the banking side, I mean, since you're the biggest commercial bank in Sri Lanka, Ravi, you touch the community at large through your branch network. Any major initiatives taken to enrich the livelihoods of people in that sense? I know you don't have a direct linkage as such, but through your network, are there initiatives taken? And do you have in place to identify projects that embed the principles of sustainability and therefore have any preference over those who are not green? Any lines of credit that specifically addresses and support green investments? Ravi, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gore. Actually, we have almost reached the timeline, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. Well, add to what was said all this time, sustainability in the banking industry was also a nice word to have maybe in your annual report and so on. But it had come a long way from that. Now it had become an integral part of business without which you cannot survive. For example, I would like to mention to you all some of the credit lines which we get from overseas. Well, most of the covenants would have very, very comprehensive sectors on sustainability and corporate governance. So if you are not compliant, you are not eligible to get those credit lines. So to that extent, it had become an essential part of the business, the banking industry. Just to answer the question posed to me, Commercial Bank had been virtually a Colombo-based trade finance bank about 20 years back, until such time we decided to go into the outstations. That was done, we started in the mid-90s. We opened our 50th branch in Dambulla in 1998. In the next 4 years, we added another 50 to make it 100. Now we have 218 branches throughout the country and counting. We have another 17 in Bangladesh. Well, in going to the regions, we are sometimes investing in the future, because some of the places which we open branches, we would not make money in the short run. Well, on the contrary, you might have to carry a few loss-making branches for some time. And these places, we get an opportunity of serving the community. And serving the community is not merely doling out money or giving money or lending money. It's far more than that, involved than that. Because we have people who are good entrepreneurs, good industrialists, they are good at farming and various things, but they sometimes do not have expertise in managing their affairs, maybe a little bit of finance. Finance is a wrong word maybe, how to look after their money. And until banks, not only our bank, even other banks, maybe it was started by the state banks, came to the outstations or rural areas, they were not in the habit of banking. They were keeping their money maybe under their pillow or whatever. Now there is no need to do that. Accessibility is fairly common, easily accessible banking network you have in this country, where people are getting into the banking stream increasingly. And we consider capacity building as one of the key ingredients if we are to keep our collection ratios high. And I must tell you, well, in these kinds of economies or outstations, the collection ratios are far higher than sometimes what we see in Colombo or in major towns. But there is one hitch here, that's the transaction cost. The transaction cost is generally high, because in order to maybe for a branch to give 50 million or 100 million loans, you have to spread it across maybe a few thousand borrowers, whereas in Colombo, with one stroke of the pen, you can give that kind of money. But still, the risk is spread, and also returns are also not bad. So in that sense, we are doing both. We are looking after the sustainability, and we are concerned about the social aspect of it. And at the same time, the bank also is, well, not at a loss, so to speak. Well, getting on to sustainability once again, and to answer the question, there were a few credit lines from overseas. The last was eFriends, where Commercial Bank, out of the funds allocated, we dispersed 37%, which I think is fairly large, considering the fact that we There are the two bigger state banks. We are the largest private bank. But we dispersed 37% of e-friends, which was directly for sustainability and environment. So and right now there aren't any overseas credit lines, but we have, most banks do have, and we also have our own credit lines which are directed towards sustainability and environment. And also we have our own division. We have come a long way from just making use of these words in the annual report. We have a separate division for corporate or rather sustainability and environment sort of concerns. And that division would have to sign off every significant loan application. Now say if Hiran or Rohan and whoever, they want a big loan from us, that particular division will have to sign off that we are compliant with sustainability and environmental issues. To that extent, we are serious about sustainability. So that's what I have to say. Commercial bank is always concerned about this, and also in addition to that, we have a fairly active CSR trust where we allocate a particular amount of profits every year, and our focus is on education, health and environment. So we also, like Hiran mentioned, we don't talk too much about that, but there is a lot of work happening. Well, I would stop at that, and maybe I would take any questions which you may pose me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. We have come to the end of the session, and we have a lot of questions, some directed at the various panelists. Take one by one some. Question to Mr. Hiran Kure. In evaluating your renewable energy investments, what are your major considerations? Would you consider buying your energy 25-year upfront? A good risk management practice. Can you, I'm also finding it difficult to.
In evaluating your renewable energy investments, what are your major considerations? Would you consider buying your energy 25 years upfront? A good risk management practice in the current energy market? Question mark.
That question mark remains. Yeah, there are actually, in our case, with regard to what we are right now negotiating, we are going through a US-based supplier who also might come and half fund it. And we might pay in staggered, on a staggered basis. If that happens, that'll be great. I mean, so that we don't have to put the money up front. So if we can get into that kind of an arrangement where we pay over a period of time, it makes a lot of sense because it's a lovely story. We are building, outside the national park, but it's still within the Yala boundaries itself. So therefore, to have a carbon neutral hotel there, with the wildlife in mind, all those, it's absolutely fantastic. So there's a lot of marketing value in it. Not only the economic value that we will get out of, so that we don't have to pay extra to the CEB. So it's really, if we can enter into such agreements, I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know whether I answered the question, but that's the way we are looking at it.
Thank you, Viran. Next one is to Mr. Ronnie Pires. How do you apply sustainability as a KPI at your entity and at individual level? What are the costs involved in adopting sustainability at JKH? Ronnie, would you like to?
Yeah, let me answer the second part first. See, sustainability at JKH is seamless. Now, I don't think we can bound sustainability into one department as such. We have 3 people who facilitate sustainability, but sustainability is the ownership of all the businesses, their CEOs, and it's interwoven into the very fabric of the operations of the business, because you can't just have sustainability on a standalone basis. It has to be a part of your business. So I don't think it's easy to segregate cost of sustainability as such. What we attempt to do is to ensure that our employees, particularly our suppliers, our customers, everything is, or everyone, every stakeholder is served adequately and in the way that they require as a part of our business. So when we do a budget for the business, I would hasten to add that the sustainability practices are built into every process of the business. Once upon a time, maybe in 2001-2, when we were thinking more on corporate social responsibility, we could have said this is the money we spend